Hey, John, can we get this? Well, good morning. We have again good news for homeowners in the city of Detroit. For the great majority of Detroiters, most of their wealth is tied up in their homes, in many cases passed down 2, 3, sometimes 4 generations. And for a long time in this city, the value of houses declined to they were worth very little. Now we have our good news and bad news day. Next week, your property assessments for 2023 will come out, and they will show that the city of Detroit home values grew by 20% again in 2022. But because of the Michigan Constitution, your taxes aren't going up 20%, they're going up a lot less. And let me show you how this works. We haven't used a PowerPoint in a while, but this is going to come in the mail probably next week. It's not a bill. Don't pay it. It's your notice of your proposed property values for next year. This starts the time that if you want to appeal, you can appeal. You'll get a bill in the mail in the summer for your tax bill, but don't pay the piece of paper that you're going to get next week. Your key document is going to be this. It's a little hard to see, but you have assessed value, taxable value. That doesn't really matter. What you care about is one line, and that is your tax increase or decrease on this line, because I'm going to show you your property values went up a whole lot faster than your taxes. And so if you look at your assessed value and say, my house went up $20,000 or $30,000, that's fine, but what matters is your tax bill, which in this particular case was an increase of $30. That's the line that you should be focused on. So here's how this works. Last year, City of Detroit, house sales, people know this, went up 20%. Even with talk of cooling market, we grew considerably. The Michigan Constitution says no matter how much your property values go up in a year, your taxes go up in inflation, and even if inflation goes up, your taxes can't go up more than 5%. So last year, actually, inflation was up 7%. Because of the Michigan Constitution, everybody in this state has their tax bill, if you stayed in your home, went up no more than 5%. Last year, more than 97% of all Detroit homeowners saw an increase in your property value. It is east to west, north to southwest. It is just overwhelming. The recovery in the neighborhoods is all across this city. It's the kind of a city we wanted where everybody participated in the improvement. We got houses that went up 30 or 40% in 1 year, but it doesn't matter. It went up 30%, 40%, your property tax increase is capped at 5% as long as you stay in your house. Now, this is an interesting thing. If you go back 10 years, the city of Detroit led the state of Michigan in decline in property values as people left here at the rate of 1,000 a month. But here's what's happened over the last 3 years in property values. Novi is up 20%, Warren 23%, Royal Oak 26%, Grand Rapids 32%. The city of Detroit, in 3 years, the property values are up 45%. And so while we led the decline in this state a decade ago, the increases have been dramatic. We are building wealth, homeowner by homeowner, across this community. And so those who were here in 2014 will remember what happened. You had, in the last administration, property values decline faster than the tax bill. I ran in 2013 arguing that people had been overassessed, and my very first month in office, a much younger version of me, cut the assessments across the city about 22% to bring them in line. That were the days when Detroit's property values were declining, and we needed to make sure the assessments declined. Let me show you what's happened since. And this has been several years in a row. In 2019, our property values went up 12%, but your taxes went up 1% because that was inflation. It's a pretty good year. Then in 2020, the property values for homes across the city went up 23%, your taxes went up 3%. And then in 21, 27%. This has been year after year after year, and now a 20% increase in property values and a tax increase of 5%. It has been well over a doubling of houses in value from one end of the city to another, but your taxes remain capped. And so the issue that existed back in 2011, 12, 13, 14 was that the taxes were being charged higher than the rate of your property value. But look what's happened. Because we've had these 20, 30% increases, these are the home values in the city right now. But the taxes have only been going up 1%, 2%, 3% a year. What we have in the city is a complete reversal of 10 years ago. What you are being taxed is down here, and your values are down here. You probably wouldn't have gotten that if you read any of the media commentary on this, but it is astonishing the difference now in how much higher your values are than what you're being taxed. For anybody who says they're being overassessed, it would mean you would have to be somebody who was all the way down here on your property values. It's possible that somebody in an individual case falls into an overassessment, but the vast majority of people in this city are being taxed at a rate dramatically lower than their actual property value. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our chief assessor, Alvin Horn, because what the city of Detroit has, for anybody who wants to appeal their assessments, we have an opportunity more than other cities. We give you an early chance to go into the city assessor on your own, and then a second bite at the apple at the Board of Review. In most cities, you only get one chance, and those assessors hearings will start in February. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Alvin Horn and let him talk about what happens from here.
Thank you, sir. As the mayor mentioned earlier, next week the city's assessment notices will go out in the mail. Some 400,000 notices. It is vital that people understand that this is their opportunity to question and challenge and understand how the city's valued your property. Beginning February 1st is the assessor's review. It's a very informal process. You can come in, you can ask questions. You can say, I don't agree with this. We will explain to you how we compute the values. We will go to your property if you have questions. If you tell us that there's something about my house that doesn't look right, we will send an appraiser out there and walk through that property with you to either explain how we came up with the values or to make changes. So it is vital. I can't begin to emphasize how important it is that people open those assessment notices. They take a look at the assessed value. If they agree with it, that's fine. But if they disagree, they have a 3-week window to object. By the time you get your tax bill, it is too late to object to how we valued your property. There's a 2-month window, the assessor's review, the March board review, where we can make corrections to that tax bill. If you don't take advantage of that opportunity, you cannot go to the Michigan Tax Tribunal, and we can't change that tax bill. This year, you can file appeals at the assessor's review either online, by email, or by letter. We're also taking appointments. So if you want to talk to a member of the assessor staff, you can make an appointment with our office, and we'll make sure the appraiser for that particular area is available. We've got the email address, assessorsreview@detroitmi.gov. The online appeal form is at www.detroitmi.gov/property tax appeal, or you can mail a letter to our office. The Office of the Assessor, ABOR is the Assessor Board of Review, 2 Woodward, Suite 804, Detroit, Michigan. So at that point, I will turn it over to, we have a gentleman from Russell Woods, Sullivan area, Melvin Chuney. He can talk about some of the improvements he's seen in his area.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to thank God for sending Mayor Duggan here, because he's made a big turnaround in a Russell Woods Sullivan area association in that area. My property values have grown exponentially. In Russell Woods, that's 1,100 homes, and everything around there is just made a complete turnaround. And I can't even begin to speak on how much it's improved in every way because we have so many new businesses opening up. That Dexter streetscape project that's going on, it starts, I guess, renovations in June to have more businesses come. We have a Dexter pop-up retail space that's about to open next month. The Zussman Park has been redone over there. There's homes being built, and all the empty homes we had over there are now, you can't find a home in Russell Woods to purchase because it's so nice and the property values have gone up and just the quality of life has been much, much better. And I'm a lifelong Detroit. I'm a retired Detroit police officer, and I never want to leave because I have faith in this city and I see what this mayor vision was, and he's made it from downtown and he's all in these neighborhoods now, and the Russell Woods Sullivan area is thriving right now. And I give the thanks to the mayor and his crew because it's absolutely, positively, it's wonderful. And I live there, so I'm here to attest to it personally from being a Detroit resident and the president of this association with all these homes. It's been a great job, and my taxes are nowhere near what their property value is. So he's telling the truth. I own 3 homes in that area, and I reside in one. And I'm totally satisfied with the great job he's done. And I just want to say thank you, sir. Thank you. Oh, up next, we have Miss Gloria Goodwine, Grandmont Rosedale community.
Thank you, sir. Hello, everyone. I'm Gloria Goodwine, and I live in Grandmont Rosedale area. I came to Detroit in 1976 as a teenager. I'm a Southerner, and we were always taught that land and homes, owning your home and land, is a legacy. What I want to speak on today is Mayor Duggan. He basically had my heart because he's not only a mayor that have great accolades and whatever, but he don't mind getting in the trenches, working with you. He will come out to the meetings and he will listen to all the complaints, and he always promised, and he'll always call someone to the side and say, hey, take care of her, listen to this one. So I want to speak on the heart of the man with the plan. He came in with the plan. I really do believe that he came with a plan, and I've known him from the beginning of his entry into the mayorship. So basically, I have a lot that's running through my mind, but I just stick to certain parts. Okay, so Grandmont Rosedale, I became a widow, and I had left Rosedale Park, and then I came back over to North Rosedale Park in 201. And so basically we were thriving to make improvements. However, things weren't really working well. And when Mayor Duggan came aboard, when he came on, things turned around. At one point, on my street, we had 3 vacant houses over there. They're no longer there. So I really do appreciate him. I know it's just not him. I know it's community, and as well he would say, he said, take all of us. I don't know if he remember, he used to say that all the time when he would come to the community meetings and come to the block club meetings and all the outings. And I love it when he say, and I know, I'm just going to speak from my heart. I love it when he say, okay, we're going to do this, but we want you, you're going to stay in Detroit, right? and especially speaking to the business people that come and they want grants or want help with their adventures. So I think that when it comes to leadership, you have to have strong leadership. We have a lot of strong leadership in Detroit, but he's one of the ones that came in after a lot had gone on, a lot had gone awry with Detroit, and he probably was a friend of Detroit from the beginning, but when he came in, I learned to know him as a friend of Detroit. I can only echo what Russell Woods have to say about Mayor Duggan. When he came in, it was a plan. I was with the project when it first, Detroit Streetscape, when it first began from concept to the end. He basically, it's so much that he supported our area in. And I think the reason that we are coming back and doing strong and people are coming to my community because they see that we are not left behind. They see that we have leadership. They see that the leadership that we have is willing to do the work diligently and not just say something and then just go and do something different, but they do what they say they're going to do. So I just say, I got a lot to say, however, I will cut it short and say this. The Word of God tells us to pray for leadership, and I'm one of those people who pray. And I prayed for Mayor Duggan when he first came on the dockets, and I pray for him every day, and I wish him well, and I know that he will have great success. And we're with you, Mayor Duggan. We are here. We are community. He's taught us well. When he come out to speak to us, he basically say, he'll tell you, he's raw. He'll tell you, it's going to take the community. I'm here, but it's going to take the community. Okay, thank you very much. Mayor Duggan, God bless you. God bless you.
Well, when we bring members of the public to these news events, I'm never sure what they're going to say, but I think this one may have been the most positive. But I know the media is all spread thin now, but if anybody ever went back and looked at that Detroit Future Cities report from back in 2011, 2012, Grandmont, Rosedale, Russell Woods were listed as transitional communities. That meant they were in a state of all-out decline. And if you drove Russell Woods or Grandmont, Rosedale in 2012, 2013, it would break your hearts. I mean, we had 200 or 300 boarded up houses in Russell Woods, right? I mean, and we had more than 100 in Grandmont, Rosedale, and it really led to the every neighborhood has a future plan. But to be here for those who stayed. Those who stayed have benefited enormously, and for those who bought 3 houses, they benefited more than enormously. So anyway, assessments are coming next week, and if you think it's unfair, we got a process for you. With that, we'll take any questions.
Mr. Mayor, after your nominating speech, talk a little bit about, this is the good news, bad news, and this is the flip side of when houses were an average of $7,000 back before the bankers.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is a normalization of things the way you wanted to see them.
Right.
And so I guess my thought would be, let's address the higher tax part of this and your thoughts in terms of what people need to be thinking about as they look at that.
Well, I think 5% property tax increase is a whole lot better than a 20%. And some of you remember back pre-Headley days before the Constitution, you could see double-digit property tax increases from year to year, and it priced people out of their homes, people who paid off their homes. And so to see the last few years 1%, 3%, 2%, 5% is an important thing. So we're building enormous wealth, but 5% is going to be there. I got full confidence that President Biden is going to bring that inflation rate down. We've already seen it in recent months, and I'm very hopeful that next year we'll see significant property value increases and maybe only a 2 or 3% increase. So I got confidence the president will take care of it.
Can you address the notion of getting Detroit into a normal state? In other words, the real estate market around Detroit back during the bankruptcy flourished. Detroit came down.
Right.
It has returned. Talk a
You know, Rod, I sat with President Obama, and I showed him that there were, I think, 700 mortgages in the entire city of Detroit my first year. And I showed him an individual who tried to buy in Green Acres, 6 blocks south of 8 Mile. A $130,000 house got turned down for a mortgage, went to Ferndale, bought a house half the size for $220,000, and he could immediately get a mortgage. The president was so angry when I showed him that, he assigned his treasury folks. We started the Detroit Home Mortgage. A lot of the banks got involved with us. It's been a lot of hard work. But if you can't get a mortgage, you can't buy a house, which makes it very hard to sell your house. Now we're still not all the way there, but we've made enormous progress. And in a few weeks, there's another flip side to this, which is if you owned your house, you've done really well in the city the last 5 years. If you were a renter, your rents have gone up because the property values have gone up, and we will very shortly be rolling out a major down payment assistance plan. And last year, Detroit crossed back over to more than 50% homeowners. I want the folks paying $800, $1,000, $1,200 a month in rent. In nearly every case, you can buy that house, pay the taxes, and keep it up for less, and you'll own it. You never have to worry about being evicted again. And so we're going to be moving on things like down payment assistance, so that, as I say, you can kiss your landlord goodbye. That's where we need to be. We need to continue to push home ownership, and given the track record of the city's real estate market, I think people can be confident.
Mayor, I'm looking for something moving forward, and maybe it's too simplistic. I know it's multifaceted, but you talk about mortgage availability, property demand, the demolitions. It's all, I understand, kind of coming together here. But is this, in a broad stroke, indicative of population having bottomed out and people coming back to the city, and where we're going from here based off of what you're seeing today?
Everybody in America knows that Detroit's population is growing except the U.S. Census Director. And eventually the courts will straighten that out with him. I got some bad feelings about that, but all you got to do is drive around the city. And I think we'll probably show you this, but the numbers, I believe, in 2022 will be the first year where the number of single-family homes rehabbed exceeded the number demolished. We are seeing, you just drive down the city, even in January, the number of houses where people are on the roofs working. You never saw that 10 years ago. Now it's happening all year round, but you're absolutely right. You've seen a couple things. Lots of new apartments being built, but lots of vacant homes in neighborhoods being renovated instead of demolished. And that was a big turning point, the fact that we're saving more houses than we're knocking down in 2022.
I feel like I'm always the downer, but there are 6
What a
neighborhoods.
surprise.
There are 6 neighborhoods that lost some value. Can you tell us which neighborhoods those are, and what's kind of the challenge? There were 5 last year. I don't know if they're the same or not, but in those areas that we're not seeing the growth,
Yeah,
what's holding that back?
We'll have a whole map next week so that you can see them. In some areas, they are just areas that are very sparsely populated as more vacant land. But we'll have those maps next week. We wanted to get this done today because these notices will be in the mail next week, and I know what happens. The week they come in the mail, people aren't sure what they are. Do I have to pay this? But we'll get you a full map next week.
You addressed this a little bit already. There's been some concern about the lowest value homes still being overassessed. Can you address some of those concerns that people have?
Yeah, it's just factually false. I mean, it is amazing when you look at, I'm probably finding the chart again, but you look at the chart, so you would have to, or you look at the gap, 3.3 is that $1 billion of value that we are taxing folks at, and $7 billion that your property is really worth. The chances of an individual is possible, which is why we do the appeals. But it's just factually false. And Alvin Horn is the expert on this. Every year, the rolls are approved by the state commission. If that were true, the state commission would have rejected it. But Alvin, why don't you discuss that claim?
I just want to emphasize one more time. There is no systemic problem with the city's processes as far as valuation. But there are 403,000 properties in the city, some 220,000 houses. I would not tell anyone that we're 100%, but that's why we have a 2-month appeals process. That's why we have the second largest assessor's office in the state. That's why the city invests in technology and training. It's important that people look at those assessment notices. That is the value of your home. That's how the city of Detroit is estimating the value. If you have any questions whatsoever on those estimates, you need to contact the assessor's office. We're required to explain our process. We're required to tell you how we came up with those values. Also keep in mind, valuation in Michigan is mass appraisal. We're looking at the outside of your house. If there's something internal wrong with that house that could affect the value, we'll never know it unless you tell us. That's why we have staff on site. That's why we have operators who answer the phone. We will look at every house in the city. If I had my wish, everybody in the city would appeal their value. That way they would understand how the process works. They may not like it, but they'll be informed, and they'll know exactly what their rights are.
I think this might have been addressed already, but how else are you informing people about the time that they have to appeal and how to go through that process? You know, I think a lot of people are kind of daunted by that challenge process.
And we've heard that question before. This is the only mayor in the state that holds a press conference about assessment notices and assessment values. There'll be other notices on press releases. The city's website will have information about the assessor's review. We're doing everything we can to let people know. We're a little bit better than we were before. We'll get better next year. We're doing everything we can to let people know that there is an appeal. This is your opportunity to question and challenge how we value your house. We're required, we're obligated to tell you how we came up with those numbers. If you disagree, it's our job to go back and look again, see that we missed something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Can you talk a little bit about what challenges there are for the city as that gap continues to widen between what the actual value is and what property taxes people are paying?
Is that a question for me or the mayor?
For the mayor.
So the issue is the pop-up. I think people in Michigan by now understand that if you keep your house for 20, 25 years, your taxes are going to stay very low. When a new person buys it, they get assessed at the value of the house that they pay for it at the time. And so there's no doubt that the pop-up factor when you sell is the biggest downside. And I think as you've seen the conversation, we're looking at a land value tax potential in Lansing to try to ease the pop-up effect. But that's the biggest single problem when this happens.
Are there issues for the city coffers as well if you aren't able to capture the increase as it happens?
We get $400 million a year in income tax revenue, $100 million a year in property tax revenue. Property tax revenue is not a significant part. So whether the property tax revenues go up 2 or 3% or down 2 or 3% does not have a material effect. Now, when people stay in their homes and pay income tax in those homes, that has a huge effect on our coffers. So as far as I'm concerned, if everybody won their property tax appeal, I'd be happy. It would not, it would make people comfortable. It's why we have so many HOPE exemptions that have been approved in the city so that folks who are of low income and own their homes can get half or in many cases all their property taxes exempted. We are a city based on income tax, not on property tax.
And can you talk a little bit about the split rate idea and how that might affect this going forward?
So I don't know if we're going to be able to solve this or not. The enthusiasm for it is way ahead of the practical solutions, although we're working it hard. But the idea would be that if you tax the land itself more and you tax the buildings on it less, what would happen is speculators who own lots of vacant land would see their property taxes go up, which they should. We charge them next to nothing now to sit on that vacant land. Homeowners would see their property taxes go down, whether it would be, from 90 mils to 70 mils, whatever the case may be. But I would think we'd be looking at a 20 mil reduction for people on houses. And so it would ease the pop-up effect if we could do it. And if Jay Rising's smart enough, we'll have an answer before the end of the month.
And then to that point as well, would you see the continued increases as a way to lower the millage regardless, or does the millage stay the same aside from a split rate solution.
Yeah, again, see what you're saying. The yellow line is how much we're collecting in taxes.
Sure.
Right? The blue line is how fast your property value is going up. The yellow line is flat. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to say this again, property tax is not what's paying for the police raise and everything else. It's the growth of the income tax, the businesses, the jobs, the people living here. So whatever happens on the assessment appeal, when I was a lawyer, I used to represent people in property tax appeals at the assessor's review, which they would blow you off and say no. Then I go to the board of review. It turns out if you weren't politically connected, and I wasn't then, and had a council person tell their board of review person, help this person, they blew you off again. It was, in this city, those who've been a long time know that the appeal process was unfair. I've told Alvin Horn, I want these assessment reviews to be positive and resolve things. And if somebody walks in and said, hey, I had a fire in my kitchen, I know you can't see it from the outside, but your assessment's too high, I want that assessor at that first review to treat them fairly. Don't make them go through another step with the board of review. And I think we have seen our assessors in those informal reviews be much fairer than they had been historically, and I would encourage people to do it. It's a relaxed conversation in which you can show folks what there is about your house, if there's something unique about your house, and I think you'll find they're genuinely trying to get to the right answer.
Yeah, I'm curious if seeing that 5% increase will affect the millage rates going forward at all, if you
Yeah,
would expect those numbers to change.
It may make a marginal effect in the debt rate, but no.
Okay. And then I know you said you were putting out a map next week, but can you tell us the names of those areas that are,
Yeah, it's
Not
spread in
meaning?
different, it's small pockets in different corners.
okay.
So I don't want to guess at it, but we'll put it out and you can see the whole thing
And
and evaluate it.
can you speak to the condo communities that weren't included, why that was?
There are 9 condo neighborhoods in the city of Detroit. As you probably guessed, in the last several years, those values have increased dramatically. They're starting to slow down a little bit. They will be, those valuations will be released along with the map. It was just, we felt it was more important to show the vast majority, which are single-family, two-family houses, to show what kind of value increases were going across the board. So we simply pulled the condos out. It's a separate market. Those values have increased dramatically, far above most single-family homes in the city. It was just decided to do those separately this year.
And will you be releasing that information as well?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
If we'd have left the condos in, it would have been a 22% average, but it didn't really relate to the average homeowner.
Correct.
Anything else?
Yeah, sorry, guys. Can you explain why we're seeing such a large jump from 2021 onward? It seems to be where it really started to kind of take off there.
Because people are, it's very, we got rid of vacant houses, we built streetscapes, we got street lights on, we got street sweeping on, we got parks dramatically improved. I could take you through the areas where Brad Dick has done the greatest parks, and you'll see really high jumps there. It has been a combination of quality of life. You might not know this from the media coverage, but there's a whole lot of neighborhoods in this city, like the folks of Russell Woods and Grandmont Rosedale, who really resent the characterization of the neighborhoods as being run down, right? We have great neighborhoods that have come back dramatically. These are the facts. You might be surprised at it if all you're doing is reading the media accounts, but if you talk to the folks who live there or you look at the facts, property values in Detroit have been growing for a while, but they've really been exploding in the last 3 years. Okay, anything else? Thank you all very much.